Surely you aren't telling me that you had to rummage through a waste bin in order to find the leftovers from an infernal...
My lord, my dear Watson, within these walls you must say my lord.
I wonder if you aren't mocking me, Holmes. I find it hard to believe that Her Majesty enjoys living in an environment so queer.
What do you know of our monarch, Watson? What do we really know?
Mr. Holmes, the Prime Minister is in the White Room on your right, at the end of the hall. His orders were that you should be shown in immediately.
Good evening, gentlemen. Well done yet again, Holmes. The reconciliation between Her Majesty and Lady Leamunda has had a wonderful effect, and we should be received momentarily.
Is Her Majesty safe?
She is in her chamber, and the palace as well as the gardens are crawling with guards. Did you notice all of the checkpoints on the way here? An army couldn't get to her.
You'll have to excuse me for a moment.
I'll await Her Majesty's orders.
Her Majesty and yourself are finally reconciled?
Ah, yes, and all thanks to you. I explained to her that you desired an audience and she has granted your request. She will receive you and the Prime Minister, but she will not tarry by calling for Chauncey to fetch you.
Farewell, my lady.
I am at your disposal, Mr. Holmes.
The rug was wet in a number of spots. I don't recall having wet it while emptying the bath. The rug was wet in a number of spots. I don't recall... The rug was wet in a number of spots. Can you assist me, my good man?
Does his lordship wish to inspect another refuse bin?
Why is the carpet in the hall wet?
On account of a gift that Her Majesty received from Lady Leamunda, it was soaked and water was dripping from it for the duration of its carriage.
What did it consist of?
I haven't the least idea. The object was wrapped.
Thank you, Chauncey. Forgive me, my lady, but I just learned that you offered a gift to Her Majesty.
Yes, I wanted to present Her Majesty with a gift to thank her for the dollhouse. But what a tragedy. It mustn't work any longer. Those nitwit workers dropped it in the moat and had the dickens of a time getting it out. They were so endearing that I couldn't be angry. And it's true that it's quite heavy.
If you would tell me, my lady, what is the nature of the gift that you presented to Her Majesty?
Well, it's a very rare piece, but I have to admit I don't know much about it. I enjoy frequenting the shops, and a very lovely antiquarian approached me and drew my attention to this masterpiece, as he called it. Oh, he knew what he was talking about, and his manners were so...
But the masterpiece, what was it exactly, my lady?
Well, as Her Majesty's watch was broken, I wanted to give her something to tell the time. Thus, I bought her this clock which she gladly took to her chamber. You know, a French grandfather clock. Pomtoise, or was it Comtoise? The antique dealer said it was made by one of the originators of the genre, the Paillet brothers.
Wait, my lady, that name suggests something to me. Could it be... Mayet?
Yes, that's it. How did you know?
Watson, Prime Minister, quick, sound the alarm. Lupin is in the Queen's chamber.
What made me accept this infernal contraption? Tomorrow I will have it carved into kindling for the fire.
If Her Majesty will permit, I would rather avoid risking death yet again in what Her Majesty calls this infernal contraption. I was able to hold my breath long enough to avoid drowning, but that wouldn't help me against.
The hangman?
Your Majesty understands well. My fate is entirely in your hands, like so many others. My intentions are not hostile. In fact, they are quite the contrary.
They are what, then?
Many times I have found myself in a similar situation, and the words came naturally, because they flow from my spirit, which has fain been called poetic, lyric, and imaginative. Words. Nothing but words and rhetoric, often to an end above reproach. I stand before you, after having risked my life and still risking it in what I had until now only considered a game. The words won't come to me because the game is over. The words that I should say to you won't come because they are buried deep. These fragile words that are frightened of emerging, these words that come from the heart. The words that I know I owe you, Your Majesty, my Queen, my love.
Believe me, madame, if I was to steal something, it would only be a kiss.
You won't be stealing anything. I will give you a kiss willingly.
Open up, Your Majesty!
Is all well, Your Grace?
Break down the door!
Your subjects are there, and so ends my gallant game, and, with them, my life. But these precious seconds are the lifetime. Show them, Arsène, how a French gentleman in love behaves.
And continue to amuse yourself.
Your Majesty, are you going to...
Hush up, you impudent plodders. Who do you think you are to speak in my presence without having been asked? Look at you, a bunch of incompetents, covered in titles and stripes. You are supposed to guarantee my safety and that of England, which amounts to the same thing. In the end, I had to defend the place myself.
But, Your Majesty...
Suffice. Even the most compassionate of monarchs cannot be permitted to excuse the vermin. Chauncey, have the royal luggage prepared. We will withdraw to Windsor presently. Leomunda, you will accompany me. And you, silence this bell before I have an overwhelming urge to decapitate it.
You and I, Lupin. Damp footprints. Lupin passed through this wall. A secret passage, no doubt. He can't have much of a lead. Now to find the opening. Elementary. This is how Lupin vanished. Here I am in the cellar of Buckingham Palace. All of these odds and ends must represent what remains of the sumptuous gifts given to the crown throughout centuries. Lupin must have hooked the lock, but it closed behind him. This grille isn't in good condition. Will it yield through force? The ground here is slightly sloped. This organ is dilapidated, but the steel tubes are made of a resistant metal. None were damaged in the fall, and they haven't oxidized over time. The wood of this statue is intact. It must be quite heavy, but it's possible to lift it slightly. You and I, Lupin. It's done now, but Lupin knows that someone is after him now. Lupin, he's there. These shanks are from the lock. Lupin must have thrown them down after closing this door again. The opening mechanism of this grille seems to be quite sophisticated. Open. All of these objects are ancient. They must be from the Norman era. Closed. The bow of this Norman longship is very heavy and seems quite sturdy. This may prove to be useful. This may prove to be useful. Elementary. I came down a level. I must find a way to get back up. This bagpipe is capable of releasing air under great pressure. That can surely be of use to me. It's part of an Indian totem. There is something here. These footprints are too blurred to gain any information. This may prove to be useful. This collection of costumes is magnificent. All are in excellent condition. It's part of an Indian totem. 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 Elementary. Elementary. Open. I came down a level. I must find a way to get back up. This may prove to be useful. This may prove to be useful. This may prove to be useful. I need something. With this system, I can see how the rope is attached. I need something. Open. A new message. What now?
Her Majesty is nevertheless safe. It wasn't without difficulty, but I managed to get her to accept a triple retinue. It's strange, but something has changed in her since this incident. After her understandable anger, she seemed incredibly serene, even playful. I've never seen her like that. When I left her, she was dreamy. Regardless, nothing happened to her, and that's all that matters to us. I have placed an additional 12 of our best agents amongst the staff at her country residence. My goodness! Intruding into Buckingham Palace like that. That Frenchman isn't lacking in daring. And all for nothing, it would appear.
How is that? Lupin went through all that trouble without succeeding? Perhaps this will put an end to all this folly.
If we are to believe the calling card that Lupin left for me in the basement at Buckingham, it would appear he accomplished his aim, although he didn't specify what that was. Furthermore, he seems determined to bring this whole enterprise to completion and commit his last theft tonight. If he succeeds, we will have lost a fifth battle, and with it, the war. National humiliation is in the offing, our Waterloo.
Holmes, how can you be so defeatist? You haven't clearly explained how Lupin managed to escape from the Queen's bedchamber and the palace, but he seems to have had a fair bit of luck yet again. It can't last forever. In addition, we are English and must claim what is rightfully ours.
Well put, Dr. Watson. As courageous as he is, I assure you he took nothing from his quick pass through the Queen's bedchamber. Either way, there was nothing to take. The bedchamber, like Her Majesty's lavatory, are models of austerity. As for the crown jewels and other adornments, they can be found in a steel cage at the other end of London. Lupin is nothing but a braggart, a trite cat burglar who got incredibly lucky and will soon find himself shackled at the ankles and wrists in one of the dankest cells at Dartmoor. Tell me, Dr. Watson, what do these phrases mean, and where must we go in order to put an end to this masquerade?
Perhaps here, at the Tower of London.
My dear Watson.
I should point out, Doctor, that Lupin has already been there.
That's true. But the message in the card... I've got it! He entered by dint of a clock in a great palace of stone. He is going to a location that is a bit of both. A great clock made out of stone. Big Ben!
My word, Dr. Watson, you are correct. I will immediately summon all of London's police force in order to set a trap around Big Ben. You are both to join me in an hour. Tonight will be a big night, my fellow compatriots. A night for victory over the French, who are...
Ah, Holmes, I no longer feel tired all of a sudden. The prospect of Lupin's capture has ignited me. Indeed, I have the wherewithal too. I caught you unawares on the last riddle, didn't I, Holmes? Well, Holmes?
Quite true, Watson, quite true.
I will have Mrs. Hudson prepare us a little refreshment that will tide us through the night. It promises to be long and exciting. Meeting the Prime Minister at Big Ben. I am sure that...
You will have to give my apologies to the Prime Minister, as I won't be joining you this evening.
But Holmes, tonight we are going to catch the most notorious thief in all of Europe. We will win the final victory, the one which will win the war. We will reclaim England's honour and without fail get our hands back on the Fighting Temeraire, the Six Ravens and the Rosetta Stone. You would miss all?
These last few days have been trying, Watson. In any event, what purpose would I serve? You're the one who solved the riddle of the card, correct?
Enough, Holmes. When you aren't in the limelight, you behave like a selfish boor. A vexation, and you act like a spoilt child. In that case, I will go alone to catch Lupin, and I swear I will not record this instalment of your adventures. You are pitiful.